This is a quick video showing how to set up a pantograph edge to edge using the Beginnings Quilter's Creative Touch software. In the help files, you'll find a panto stacker and quilting interface help file. These documents are very good to get a basic understanding. We're going to select pantograph, and then I have to set my safe area. So I'm pushing it as far back as I can, and that will be my top left. Now it wants the bottom right, so I'm going to move the machine toward me as far as I can and a little off to the side and touch bottom right. Now I need to select a pattern. I'm going to go into patterns, select the panto folder and Urban Elementz. I have some saved files. I'm choosing this one. Now that's what my screen looks like. Since this is Beginnings version, you can only have 2 rows. So we're selecting 2 rows. My quilt top here is 38 inches. I'm going to make the total width be 39, so that gives me a little bit of space to sew off the edges. The total height is actually the area that I'm able to sew on my Q14. I am selecting 8.75. The length of my quilt is 44 inches. If I say 44 divided by 8.75, that gives me 5. So when I get to the bottom, I should end fairly well. Now, I need to add some more patterns, so that's what I will do next. I've selected 7 patterns. It doesn't look good. I need to go down to the hearts and reselect. I don't like that. I like that. This is where the ends are nested, but they overlap each other, so I want to make them smaller. I come down to size, and then I will select the icon that makes it be smaller. Now they're no longer touching. The second row, I want to flip it horizontally, so I am going to select alternate, and then I will say flip. And I'm flipping it horizontally, so I choose this. Now it's flipped horizontally. I don't like the way the little flower petals are, so I want to choose alternate. That selects my second row, and I'm going to move it a little bit. So I say move, and now I have arrows. So I'm going to move. I like that. Now I can save this at any point. I'm going to choose quilt. The first thing I want to do is come up to hit optimize. This shows where all the break areas are, and I want to remove them. So I say remove all. It asks me if I want to join first and last points. I say no. If I hit animate stitching, I can watch how it's going to sew, but the green dot and the red dot tells me where the stitching will begin and end. So now I'm going to say OK. I come up to settings at the very top. This is where I tell how fast I want the machine to sew. I have selected slow. I want 4 little micro stitches when it first begins stitching. You can change this just by touching it. I want 10 stitches per inch. I can minus or plus if I want to change that. And now I'm going to say OK. Up in options, you can tell it you want it to show the grid lines, and that's helpful sometimes in picking how to adjust things when you start stitching. Now I need to tell the machine where I want it to begin sewing. If I move this up too close, if I select that, but it's really too close, you can see it's pink. That lets me know I've got it set too high. If I move it down too far and tell it there, now you can see it shifted down, but it's still pink. I'm outside of my safe area. So I have to move it where I think it's probably going to be okay. So now it's good because there's no pink, but to make sure that the top of the flowers are going to hit where I want them to, I can tell it to trace. And then the machine, without sewing, begins to move where it would be stitching. So once it gets to where the top of the flowers are, I'm going to really be watching, and it shows you in dark where it's at in the pattern. But right now I'm going to go ahead and say stop. And now I'm going to tell it I want it to pull bobbin. So I shall just hit pull bobbin. And it's going to move back. I've got to tell it the needle's up. And now it's going to move back to exactly that spot. And instead of doing the move away and move back, that's time consuming, I'm just going to say single stitch. And then it takes one stitch. And then all I have to do is just take something and run it there, and now the bobbin stitch is pulled, and I just hit sew and it takes off. One thing I want to show you is if your bobbin runs out or you have a broken thread, whatever, then you go into repair pattern. Do whatever you need to do, change your bobbin, whatever, and then so that the machine will know where to start stitching, you use these keys to figure out how to get back to the point that you need it to start stitching again. And I would recommend just playing around with that before you ever use it, and that will be very helpful. I hope this has answered at least a few of your questions. There's so much more to learn, but hopefully this will get you going.